Okay, good evening. The North Andover Community Preservation Committee meeting for February 5th is starting up. Thank you all in the audience for attending. What we're going to do tonight is, this is the interesting stage of the process because we're actually going to start the review of all the projects. And we have a couple of project sponsors here who are going to present their projects. Lori is going to present on Gallagher Field, and Dick's going to present on the for the housing trust. What I'd like to do is just very quickly go through some numbers and the list of the projects. I don't want to go into depth on the projects. After we have the two reviews tonight, we could talk about the other projects and questions we have and issues. But at the very beginning. So if you take the page, Gene, yeah, good, that's the one, that shows the fund balance. It's always good to start the process by looking at the maximum amount of money we have available to us if we chose to spend it all, which has generally not been our practice, but if we spend it all. So, and if anyone has any questions or doesn't, understand the logic of any of the things, let me know. But it really starts with the fund balance as of December, which is the last month we had it, which is over 18 million. And then you back out the total amount of the unspent appropriations that are still active. And that gives you the amount of money that's net available. And of course, I made a mistake there. The date there is wrong, from last year. Then what you have to do is you have to add the remaining revenue that we're going to bring in for the rest of this year. And then you add the revenue that we're likely to bring in for next year. And that gives you close to somewhere around 13 million. Now, this is an art, not a science. The number could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower based on a lot of different things. But that basically gives you a marker. It seems like a lot of money, but it's really a function. If you think about it in the long term, there may be some projects down the road that are very expensive, so we might hold some money back for that. So that's where we are. So, and obviously, if we chose to fund every single project, we could if we wanted to, but the question is, do we want to? So, everybody okay so far? Okay, the list of the projects, I don't want to go into them in too much detail now, but these are all the projects we've gotten. And then, Gene, I didn't miss anything, right? I got them all.
I didn't go in detail, but my quick look seems that you have it all.
Okay, so you can see this is the cumulative amount, and obviously what we fund and do will change from that, but this is the inputs at this point are just north of 6 million, so that's what it is. So that, I think, sets context for the conversations, and we've chosen tonight to focus on two projects, as I mentioned, and go into them in detail and ask all the different questions that we have. So, Laurie, if you want to go first.
I don't want to mess up all your papers. Okay, hi. So this application from our office is for the next phase of the Fields Master Plan. If you remember, we did a plan back in 22, 23, and we changed it up a little bit. Last year, we decided to do both phases of the high school, and not do any town field. So this year, we're asking to do the renovations at Gallagher Field. This is the field that I don't know if you all know, there's a separate fields committee that meets, and I went to them and asked them what the priority was. Obviously, everybody's priority is the Recplex, but for the next field that we're looking at doing, they said that Gallagher would be the one that they would want us to concentrate on.
Regarding the study, could you talk about what the scope was and what process we went through? Because we have some new members that weren't here when that
For the Fields Master Plan?
Yeah, the Fields Master
Sure.
Plan. Yeah.
So it's all online if anybody wants to read the whatever 400 pages that it is. But what they did is they went to all the fields, examined the condition of all the fields, talked with all of the user groups, got input from everybody about what was needed, what worked, what didn't work, and basically studied all of the town fields to try to come up with a plan, because we feel like we don't have a plan to maintain our fields, to renovate our fields. And so they gathered all the information, did a great report, did a bunch of cost estimates. So you'll see in the packet tonight, the cost estimate is actually from January of 2023, because that's when they were done. And they have since, they've been a great resource, because they actually are the architects that did the high school, that are currently doing the high school too, and which has provided the estimate to do Gallagher Field. So at the end of the study, we agreed that we would concentrate on McAvoy and then high school, Sharpners, and then high school phase 2. When we reevaluated, we decided it was the best approach to do the entire high school and not in phases, because it made more sense. Sharpners in the plan calls for turf, so it's not an eligible project for CPC per se for that portion. So we've kind of put that one aside for now, and I'll be talking with the Fields Committee again about what they want to do as an order for the rest of the fields, because our goal is to get a plan in place, just like Facilities Master Plan and Facilities Master Plan 2. We want a Fields Master Plan. We did it with the playgrounds, which worked out great. So that would be the next step. And because the Recplex is going to take most of our concentration for the next couple of years, we have a little time to decide what happens after that. What do we do after the Recplex? And then the other great thing about the study that Gale Associates did was they provided a maintenance plan, which we are lacking. So it gave us the framework to go out to bid to get landscapers, field liners, whatever it is that we need to get all our fields in shape and maintain them, because the last thing we want to do is put money into renovating them and then not taking care of them. And that's actually part of the town manager's budget this year, portion. We're going to be funding a portion of the maintenance part for the fields. So, you're welcome. So I did put the request in for $500,000. Typically, we have the design done with a cost estimate so that we know sort of what we're looking at, but we're putting in for design and cost all at once. So I've revised it because, based on conversations with the Fields Committee, people who are much more familiar with doing this work than I am suggested that the numbers might be a little out of date. So I did increase the request to $550,000. Originally, we weren't going to do the parking lot, and they had suggested that we really should do the parking lot since we're going to be doing the field. Gale Associates, when I spoke to them, they said around, $450 to $450 should probably be enough, but for construction, not including their engineering fees. So that's why I'm asking for I don't want to have to come back, and I don't want to be short, and I don't want to cut anything out. It was actually suggested last night that I asked for $575. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Obviously, we don't want to run short, but it's really hard to tell. I'm getting information that costs might be coming down. We had a really healthy bid process for the high school. It was very competitive. But again, this isn't going to be going to bid for the construction until spring of 27. So I don't know what it's going to be like then. So it's. So I
think what you're seeing in the market right now, because I'm in the industry, is that it is a little bit slow right now.
Yeah.
And that's why you're getting better prices. But I think to be safe, just based on running some quick numbers on escalation generally for construction, I think you should probably go to $575.
Okay.
You can always give the money back. But
Yeah.
I'd be in favor of that.
If you guys are okay with that, I'd be happy to revise the application to $575, just to give us some coverage, and then like we've done with other projects. If there's any money at the end, it just goes back to the CPC fund.
Can you maybe just highlight the salient points in the proposal? Just, again, I think we all know, I mean, you can tell there's a parking lot, but I'm not quite sure. I think they did some clever things with the fields and so forth, so.
Oh, well, it's good that you zoomed in. Originally, the plan, they grouped Dale Street Field and Gallagher Field together, but we're just concentrating on Gallagher. They are putting the two general use fields and then a diamond, which the 60-70 diamond, I believe, is what was talked about last night at the Fields Committee, that is a definite need for.
The last time we did any work on that was probably 2005.
Yeah, so they're gonna be doing that and redoing all the irrigation, because from what I understand, the irrigation does not work.
The irrigation does not work
Yeah.
because there is no power to the irrigation system on that side.
Okay.
That was battery operated.
The only thing on here that we are not gonna do is the storage garage. But the parking lot will be done, be better parking there, and, yeah, that's about it. There's some wetlands issues, but it's nothing different than we've had to deal with the high school and other fields, so.
So right now, there's only one field there, right? Is there, or is it two?
There is two, I
They use it
believe,
for two. They can use it for two soccer
Okay.
fields, and it's
Yeah.
still the.
but they're
still the
not
diamond
using
already.
baseball at all, right?
No.
No, it's an emergency backup
Yeah.
for either softball or baseball, but it hasn't really been used.
Right,
You can tell by the pictures, it's pretty dangerous out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys decide on like the fields committee and in the town whether you want to stick with grass or go to artificial? Besides, is it just a money thing?
We would all love turf, but it's
Yeah.
very expensive,
It's
and
a money thing.
you know, its life is 12 to 14 years, so you need to come up with a plan to be able to replace it. So, some fields can take it with the grass.
Yeah.
Is this both parking lots, Lori? Or
No,
is it
just
just
the-
the one designated
Just
as
the
20?
Gallagher part of
Gotcha.
the parking
Okay,
lot,
thank you.
yes.
Has the delay with like the recplex impacted like the work that you wanted to do on other fields?
Not
Like,
really,
not
no.
really. No.
We're continuing, I mean, we had the Fields Master Plan completed, and we followed it.
Yeah.
High school was the project that we did, and now that's why, because we didn't have anything after that point. You know, I asked the Fields Committee what
What's
they'd want
next?
to do for the next project, and the plan, sometime within the next, year with the Fields Committee, is to finish the plan. What's gonna be after the recplex, so we know what we're looking for 5-10 years down the road, to get these things done.
Got it.
Good. Great. Any other questions? Good, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can we add irrigation at the Memorial Stone and the front entryway?
Irrigation there, I don't know, I can ask.
I think that would be really good. I mean, just to, I'm sorry, I know I'm speaking
I'm
out of
sure you
turn,
can, Dick.
but,
That's not
as
a big
person that's wanting
expense.
to take care of that stone and everything else, I think it would be great if we had irrigation there. Because it doesn't get watered very well. Am I up? Well, thank you all for having us tonight. So I'm here to present
Just say
the.
your name.
Richard Valancourt, Stevens Street, North Andover, obviously. I'm here tonight to present the application for the Affordable Housing Trust. For those of you who are new to the board or haven't heard of the Affordable Housing Trust before, so the Affordable Housing Trust is a committee in town. It's made up of 7 town residents. One of them is a representative from the Select Board, Janice Phillips. The trust was established in 1988 through Mass General Law, and it was revamped in 2006. So it originally was called the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. Now it's just the Affordable Housing Trust. I'm going to read because I didn't memorize it, but I'm going to read the mission statement for the Affordable Housing Trust from our website. To provide for the preservation, creation, support of affordable housing in the town of North Andover for the benefits of low and moderate income households. So what we did is we did request the full 10% allocation, which is what CPC is allowed, is the minimum, I believe, that is allowable or is supposed to be given to affordable housing. We do that because we don't know if there are any other applications that are going to be brought in for Affordable Housing Trust, so we might as well ask for the 10%. But I know you have another application for North Andover Housing Authority for 1.5, so obviously you've met that 10% threshold very easily. So I understand that we've had some discussions and we've changed our request to $200,000 for the Affordable Housing Trust. So this committee, or the CPC, is one of the primary sources of funding for the Affordable Housing Trust, right? And we use that money, and I think we've been very good stewards of that money. Right now, we have multiple programs going on. So we have a rental assistance program that we established during COVID, where we were helping folks that were having issues paying their rent. That program is still ongoing. We have a down payment assistance program that's currently in the works, where we help first-time home buyers or folks who haven't owned a home in a long time, or seniors, with a down payment on a home. Of course, there's parameters around all of these, sorry. We also have the critical home repair program that we've partnered with Habitat for Humanity for, so we're working with that. Currently, we're working with, I'm not going to say the name right, so the acronym is CAF. It's an organization out of Lawrence that we're working with them on Brown Court, where we've acquired the 3 very distressed properties on Brown Court. If anybody knows that neighborhood, those properties were very distressed. So we're in the process of working with them to convert those 3 units into 4 affordable units. And what else do we have going on? We're also working with the North Andover Housing Authority for Fountain Drive, where they're looking to put in additional units on Fountain Drive, which last year's allocation of $200,000, that's earmarked for that. We haven't really put it towards that yet because they're still working the details of how they're going to do Fountain Drive. So, but that money is earmarked. The $200,000 is earmarked for that particular project. Also in the application, I kind of gave a timeline that provided a bunch of other projects that we've worked on or helped fund. Some of them were like, for example, May Street here in North Andover. We had at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units on May Street, I think. We had the 2 units at the end, and then the one single family, yeah. Yeah, and then Innis Street was another one that we did some units on. So the trust has been very active with trying to provide for affordable housing. So our current numbers, we have currently about, as of our last treasurer's report, and we meet monthly, we had about $488,000 of available funds. So we're requesting $200,000. Now that doesn't include the $200,000 that we have coming, that I think just hit the books from last year from the CPC. That just hit the books at the end of January. It wasn't included on this report. So that would be up by $200,000, but that money has been earmarked for Fountain Drive. So the available funds is about $488,000. We're requesting another $200,000. We do this because there are properties that come up during the year that we may be able to work quickly on acquiring and flipping those into affordable units. So we have that money. I mean, we still go through, of course, select board approval, but we don't have to go through town meeting approval to be able to acquire those properties. I hear rumors of a property that's, I don't want to say too much about it, but there's rumors of a property that might be coming up soon that we might be able to get our hands on, and all with the intent of trying to provide for affordable housing or keep people in their houses. And that's one of my key goals too, is especially for senior citizens, which we're all becoming that, right? The critical home repair is great for that, to help senior citizens or low income to do things like boilers and roof repairs and things that they may not be able to afford otherwise, and keep them in their homes and safe. So I think that the trust does fantastic work. I've been on a lot of boards and committees in this town, and I've always said openly that this is one of my favorites to be on, because I really love the work that this group does. And as I said, this organization is one of our key funding sources. We used to get money also from, we had made a few, when I was on the zoning board actually, we had made some agreements with some of the 40Bs that when the market rate units were sold, we would get a percentage of that, but that's pretty much dried up now. So this becomes one of our primary funding sources. Last year we did request an additional $100,000 for the critical home repair, but we then came to find out that we couldn't use CPC money for that, so that money was brought back to the CPC, so we didn't get that part of it. So that's it. That's about my story. 200,000 is what we're requesting. Certainly happy to answer any questions.
How many properties have you identified that might be convertible?
Well, right now we have Brown Court in the
I'm
hopper.
sorry,
Right now
I'm
we have
having a
Brown
hard time
Court.
hearing you.
Right now we have Brown Court that's in process, right? So we don't have any others that are identified just yet. But that doesn't mean something's not going to come up during the year.
Do you have like a multi-year like goal? Because there's only a limited amount of units that might be flippable, and we all know that
Well,
the biggest conversation that we have is like land. And, you know, to do affordable housing is very tricky here because, and I'm on the Housing Authority, as is Adam. And so I'm always curious to, and I'm a big fan of the Affordable Housing Trust. I actually utilized, that's how I was able to move here. So this isn't antagonistic. This is really just curiosity.
So what, you know, when we don't know when a unit's going to come up, right? We kind of hear about it. Maybe there's something comes through town hall that there's a unit that's being recalled by the bank, or it's going under foreclosure. And if we can get that, we will. And that's what we did on May Street. And actually, on May Street, an interesting story on that one was we had done a unit on May Street down here. We converted two. And when we were touring it and getting ready for sale, where the families had been chosen that were going to live there, there was a house next door that this elderly woman was living in, and it was really distressed. And we were looking out the window, we're like, wow, what's going on with that property, right? And we ended up working with the woman. She was relocated to McCabe Court, right next door, and we ended up purchasing that property and converting that property. So that was something that, you know, came up out of nowhere. It was just because
Right.
someone had their eyes open.
I'm more curious about more strategic approaches as opposed to like things falling into your lap. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something that the board wants to entertain.
Well,
about,
yeah, I mean, that's a
like
good
how
thought.
we
Some
can
of-
communicate with the community to more effectively like let people know that this is an option if they're sort of like struggling and they want it to go to it's a sensitive thing. So something that's worth having a conversation about. I'd be curious to hear down the road.
Yeah, I don't know that we have any strategy. Maybe Laurie's been on the board longer than I have, and
So we have talked about and have in the past sent letters to certain property owners that we were aware of, of properties that were in distress. We sent a bunch of letters out asking if they were willing to sell their property so that we could use it for affordable housing. That really didn't go very far. That was right around the time of May Street. We've also talked at different meetings about seeing if we could have a program to buy affordability. So basically, if somebody was in financial trouble, they could come to us to help them. We would pay them to put a permanent affordable restriction on their house. And that's
like a reverse
non-negotiable.
mortgage.
Yeah, it's like a reverse mortgage, but it's non-negotiable. Like, it can't be a 10-year thing. It has to be permanent. So if it's basically, we're paying you for your equity now. When you sell the property, that has to be sold at an affordable rate, just like every other affordable unit we have. So we've briefly discussed that. We know Fountain Drive is going to be a big project. We know Brown Court's going to be a big project, so we've really been concentrating on those. And we do have a potential 4-unit that's about all we can say right now. So
No,
that's kind of what
fine.
we're looking
I love
at.
that you're really
Yeah.
spending some time on this because, we've been singing the song of like, we had to figure out how to allocate to affordable housing. So I like that, like, there's a really strong effort here. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that.
yeah, well, thank you. And the board has done a fantastic job looking at
have.
and trying to come up with programs too. And what I didn't mention, like that critical home repair program, that's a forgivable loan. So if,
Yes.
based on how long the person stays in the
Yep.
home,
Yep.
so if they leave 1 to 5 years, it's got to be repaid, and then it gets prorated after that up to, I
Yep.
think, 10 years, and then it's forgiven. So, there's a lot of good opportunities there for folks to be able
Yeah,
to
no, highly
to
recommend.
stay
Highly
in their
recommend.
homes. So any other questions?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for all you and Lori do. Really appreciate it. I just have a kind of a paperwork question. So I was reading on the state's community preservation website sort of about, there's an article about working with affordable housing trusts, and it mentions a 2016 law that changed how CPA funds are transferred and used by the housing trust. It says that the housing trust needs to, CPA funds transferred to the housing trust needs to be accounted for separately from other trust funds. I just want to confirm, is that something you're doing?
Yeah, and that's basically what we did last year when we were talking about using funds for the home repair. We
Gotcha.
realized we couldn't do that, so we had to return those. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
So any of those home repair funds will not be coming from CPC funds. They'll be coming from existing AHT
Existing
funds.
funds, cool. And are you doing the reporting part too, back to the local committee, if you're familiar with that? It says, all housing trusts that spend CPA funds must report their expenditures annually to the Community Preservation Committee. The CPC in turn must then enter those expenditures in the state's online project forms. Is that something we've done in the past?
I am not aware of
Yes,
if you
those are
guys
the
have done-
quarterly reports that you guys require.
Okay, okay,
Thanks.
great.
I'm so happy Laurie's here, by the
Yeah.
way.
All set.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dick.
And thank you for everything you guys do, too. I know this is a lot coming up with all the projects you're reviewing and everything, so.
Thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Have a good night.
So if we go back to the list, and I think what I'd like to do now is to talk about the different projects. But I'd like to go
Okay,
just,
good.
go through them all, see what questions, whether we need to have people in. If we can get a list of a lot of the questions that we have in advance, then people can be better prepared when they come in. If there's issues that we need to work with council or somebody else, we could do that along the side too. So let's deal with that. So, yeah, Gina, if we could talk about the historical district signage, maybe talk a little bit about how it came together and what we'd like to do at this point, because I think we may want to defer it till we have a better plan.
Yep, so a little background. It was, I believe, 2016 when we installed the Machine Shop Village signage at the gateway entrances. So there's 5 gateway entrances to Machine Shop. 3 of them have what I term as a monument sign. So it's 6 feet wide, 3.5 feet tall. It's a welcome sign. And then there's 2 pole signs, and they're at the corner of Clarendon and Pleasant and on East Water. So they're also gateway entrances, but the right-of-way didn't fit the type of monument sign. And so those were installed, and I will say since 2016, not as recent, but soon after those were installed, we periodically would get requests from various stakeholders in the Old Center requesting gateway signs for the Old Center as well. And it wasn't that we were opposed to it in any manner, it's just nobody really put a lot of thought to what does that look like, what do you want, and develop a budget, whatnot. And so this past year, the town had some grant money to conduct a wayfinding master plan for the town. Our master plan done in 2018 had a goal to do a wayfinding plan. We got some grant funding. We did that, and it's townwide, and implementation of that is not tomorrow. Like, that would, it's not even like on the radar until we can get grant money. However, one of the things in that wayfinding plan was Old Center Historic District gateway signs. And my presumption, based on the feedback we got with Machine Shop Village, was something similar to that. And so I went to the Historical Commission and I asked them if they could look at that, see if they'd be supportive. They've provided a memo in your packet deeming the whole district as a historic amenity in our town, and we're supportive of signage. I also went to the Old Center Historic District meeting and kind of presented to them, again, sign specs for Machine Shop Village, but that would obviously say Old Center Historic District. And I would say, although supportive, there was a lot of talk about locations and materials and exactly, do we want monument signs or do we want something different? And this pole sign that Machine Shop Village has is a little weak, to be honest. I would advocate for a much stronger, better sign in the Old Center. And so they didn't vote to a letter of support, but they acknowledged whatever got approved for funding would still need to come back to them in order to be installed and approved in general. And so I left that meeting thinking, okay, well, apply still it's not really certain, but at least they're supportive of signs. But then thinking that through, I was really hesitant because I don't want to present that we're going to do 5 gateway signs to this committee, and then in the end, they determine, oh, we really only need one in the common, or we really, just something different and something drastically different than Machine Shop Village. And so I talked that through with the chair. They held another meeting, and the email's in your packet, essentially, again, supportive, but I'd have to come back. And so I can say at this time, I don't have a high degree of confidence that they will mimic what I submitted to you in terms of similar to Machine Shop Village. And wherever they determine would be appropriate locations for these gateway, it would still need to be approved at the town as well because of sight lines, and they'd be on town property, they'd be in right-of-ways. And so I would certainly have to get approval from different department heads as well.
So I think what we decided was that given it's a good idea, but it needs more work, and the better approach would be to work with the constituency, come up with something that's final, and then submit that next year that everybody agrees to, that we're pretty sure is going to pass muster. So we don't want to have this fall apart because one abutter or somebody else is opposed to it, so.
Yeah, like I said, the chair and another member really supportive, and in fact communicated that we've been talking about this, we were just going to put this on our agenda, and one agenda's not going to do it. They're really going to have to carry it until they get a real good consensus on what they want. So I'm not opposed to waiting a year. I know I think they just wanted to cement something to keep it on everybody's radar at this point, but it certainly can come back in a year if that's what you prefer.
Yeah, okay.
So, I think this is a great project. I'm just concerned, is this an allowable CPC use?
Yes, so I shared with John, just before this meeting, I did get determination from town council on 5 projects, I believe.
Okay.
And you're going to get to it, but the only one that was not deemed eligible for CPC funding is the Housing Authority
The rehab
project, for the same reason that Dick just spoke to. You can't use it for just mundane
Rehab.
repairs, repair and general maintenance. But the Gallagher Field, she got through 5 of them, I believe, so she still has a few to do, but one of them is the old center signage.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, there is a letter in the packet from her.
Yes, yeah, she also gave a legal opinion when I submitted the application. I asked for one specific to that.
Okay.
But now that all the applications have come in, she's begun her review.
Okay. I'll take a closer look at it. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thanks, Gene.
Thanks, Chief.
The next one on the list is the Berry Street soccer field access and parking, and I'm totally confused by that, so do you understand it? I think these guys understand it, but there's a lot of things that have to come together, right, for this to work?
Yep, so I'm glad Larry's still here for that, too. Do you want to speak to, if you don't?
I didn't know I was going to be involved with this application, but here I am. Thank you to Rick. Yes, there is a lot of moving pieces. This year at town meeting, we are bringing forward a proposal to put a 3rd fire station at the Berry Street, basically what is now the Berry Street parking lot. I didn't know until last night that that field is actually not even used for games, it's just practices, so that makes me feel a little better. So in order to do that, we have to we're looking to increase the driveway, I call it the driveway, but the road that leads to the field, and then the field's here, and as part of the dump area is going to be cleared for the parking lot. So the parking lot's still going to be, it's basically going to be just a small portion of the back of Sharpness Pond DPW property. And there's a lot that goes into it because, of course, it would be contingent on the fire station passing. There's some wetlands issues. We had a TRC meeting to go over some of those initial concerns. The engineers are working on that, and we're kind of, that's where we're at. And so that's why this came about, is because we're looking at that site for the 3rd fire station.
Proposed as gravel. That's
Right, okay, so that's why it's relatively inexpensive,
And
yeah.
access to that gravel parking lot would actually come through the fire department's parking lot.
Yeah.
It would just pass right through it, so the fire department would have, 90-degree parking on either side of a drive aisle, and then it joins up with what they're proposing for this access to the field.
It basically follows the existing path.
Yeah.
So if the fire station doesn't pass, it becomes moot? I mean, is that basically,
Yes.
As far as we're concerned, yeah,
okay.
there would be no changes to that if it doesn't pass.
And if the fire station were to be constructed, what would be the sequence in the order? Would it be like a couple of years before you could build this parking? Or would you do it right away? Or, what's the timing?
We would probably try to do it at the same time. I think we would probably permit it all together because it makes the most sense.
You'd lose the parking once the fire station goes under construction.
Yeah, you'd lose
Yeah.
access to that field completely once we're under construction, really.
And there really isn't significant parking there right now.
But would you have to, like, not use that field during the period of construction of the fire station?
You may have to access it another way by foot, though. You wouldn't be able to drive to it.
Yeah.
So they could maybe do practices there, but they wouldn't be able to do a game.
I guess it probably also depends on how the fire station is situated in terms
Yeah.
of where, if it conflicts with the roadway right now.
Anybody with questions? Jack, the wetlands, I heard wetlands
Well,
mentioned.
there's
Yeah.
quite a few down there.
Yeah.
So that'll be something we'll have to look at for sure.
Yeah, it's all flagged.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's a tight pinch as you come off the existing gravel parking lot.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, on the Berry Street fields, right? We've got that large complex and then the small field by itself. Does this proposal, connect the two? No.
No,
Just improves access to the single field.
yes.
Okay,
because
which
there's-
needs it, for sure.
There's never been access through the Sear Recycling Center. It's always been in that gravel parking lot, in that gravel. I wouldn't
And
call it gravel.
it'll stay that way too?
That would be the intent.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so from what I understand, they park at the parking lot where the building's gonna be built, and they walk that long path
Yeah.
down.
The advantage, if it all goes through, if we put the parking lot in the new location, it'd be a lot easier for people with any type of disability to get to the field, because right now, a lot of parents might not be able to make their way down that path. So now the parking would be next to the field, which would make it much easier for parents if they were to go to a game to do it. That's why they don't have games there.
Is it gonna be, are they gonna go for handicap access, maybe?
The only thing I looked at, Jack, was, I think it's at the south end of the field. So as you come through the path, through the woods, up into the field, off to the right, there's kind of a clear area.
Yeah.
There could be a drop-off area that would probably provide handicap access very easily.
I think it'd be a good feature for the project.
Yep.
If it was there.
I would agree.
It was just kind of a preliminary look.
Yeah, sure.
Do we typically go with crushed stone instead of asphalt?
Well,
Again, is it a money thing?
No, it's a pervious surface, and
Okay.
realistically, the field's only used in, fall and spring.
So it doesn't need it, yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, there'd be obviously some maintenance over time, but it's not untypical to just have a gravel parking area.
Cool.
So, do you think, we really don't need to have a further discussion on this in depth? I mean, I think we've pretty much covered everything. Do people have any questions that haven't been answered or would like to have answered on this?
If the snow melts, it'd be a nice tour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, walking in 8 inches of snow at 0
Would
degree
be.
weather wasn't fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're working on getting the project up on our website, where we have a section of our website for projects, and we're working on getting the fire station project information up there, and so we'll include the information, because I think that parents are going to be concerned about what's gonna happen to that
Yeah.
parking.
Does the town manager's office have a take on any of the other projects?
What do you mean, do we have a take on any of the other
Like
projects?
the high school field, lighting and those things?
I mean, I don't want to speak for the town manager.
Okay.
So it would be fine to make this contingent on the approval of the fire station town meeting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much, we were pretty much going to make that understood at town meeting anyway, so.
Okay, okay, good,
Can I
good.
just like say one little nitpicky thing, just for clarity?
Sure.
Because this is public information. When it references might not be eligible for HCHD, that's actually not the right name of the agency.
I didn't do the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's
But it's about a different project, right? Yeah.
EOHLC.
Shame on me. Okay, I'll get it right the next time.
No
so,
problem,
yeah.
I just, it's public information, so I just noticed it, and I went,
okay.
oh, they mean HLC, okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
Not pointing fingers.
Okay, the next one on the list is Zero Grapevine Road land purchase. I think everybody, we've talked a little bit about it, but it's a parcel right on the lake, off of Grapevine Road by the raised pump station. It's off of the existing subdivision there, and it is a lot for sale. This is something that I think the next meeting we want to discuss in more depth, but we probably are going to do it under executive session because it involves the purchase of land. The town is working with Greenbelt on this, and has in the process of getting an appraisal. And when we meet the next time, we can talk about the appraisal and the progress and so forth, but we'd do it in executive session, so. Okay? Okay. So the next item is the 169 Chestnut Street, and actually, that's the house. The two lots that are being requested to be purchased are on Quail Run. They're two basically half-acre lots. And Melissa is here to talk about it, but we're probably going to defer to the next meeting when the detailed discussion, on that. But to the extent that anybody has any questions or things that they would want known, we can put that on the table now, so.
What's the big benefit from that, from purchasing that?
Well, would you like to? Why not? Why not? Why not? Go ahead. Yeah, yes, the podium is available.
I'm sorry, John, I know you didn't want to get into
No,
any
that's
of the
fine.
details, so hopefully we can keep this.
And I see Eva's here too, so, yeah, you're here, yeah.
I don't want to give away.
So I'm Melinda Perrone, and I live at 65 Meadowwood Road in North Andover. And I'm the author of this application. And I definitely want to thank my neighborhood for supporting me in this application, and also the Historical Society. Not that they're backing this application, but they've helped me to do the past research of the application for the project. And also the North Andover Improvement Society, which has just helped me to collect information and to learn more about the homestead, the Colonel James Fry homestead. So the Colonel James Fry homestead is the question I have. It's not the home itself. The home itself is in danger of demolition, as we all know. I'm taking this on because I do live in the western side of town, and I drive by the homestead daily, sometimes twice a day. And it's a beautiful homestead. It's one of the, I would say, earliest existing homesteads in town. 1734 is when the house was built, but the land was owned by the Fry family before that time. There's only been 4 contiguous families owning that house for the past 300 years, and that includes a much larger parcel of land. But the land I'm talking about is the 2 subdivided lands which the planning board accepted for subdivision, 124 and 136 Quail Run. So that would be at the bottom of that 169 Chestnut Street. It's a beautiful, flat, well-drained area. It is one area of open space that is dry in that side of town. Much of our open space is wet. And that's Mosquito Brook running to the north. And then the downhill on the other side would be Becky's Pond and the Shawshene River. So this is a really nice dry area of land. It's 2 parcels of land. The entire lot was bought in 2021, I believe. That whole Colonel James Fry homestead was bought for $1.3 million, and the present owner is hoping to sell those 2 subdivided lots on the west side of the homestead for $599,000 each. They've been on the market for 90 days, both of those, and I know the market's not really great right now. But it's a beautiful, flat area of land that has not been developed, except for a swimming pool that was put in by Kurtz Hansen in the 1970s or so. Kurtz Hansen was an owner, he was an employee of National Geographic Society and the president of the Champion Paper. And that was a paper company in Lawrence that created a glossy paper for National Geographic. He went on himself to found to head a group called Photonics, which was an early digital typesetting organization. So he's just one of a fascinating group of individuals that owned that property. He owned the entire Quail Run area until it was sold in 1979. At that time, it was in his wife's name. They sold it to the Hayes family, and I'm sure some of you know the Hayes family. So, again, this is an area west of Franklin School where the CPC has not awarded a plan for open space on the west side of town. It's like I said, a beautiful flat area of land, and it's a great place where those folks who can't go out to our great outdoors, our big open spaces, they can be out in the open space with their families nearby. And I'm hoping when the Route 114 corridor project is started and completed, that folks from my neighborhood, which is that neighborhood behind the Dollar Tree, we're able to walk down Hillside Road, past Chestnut Street, and be able to enjoy that plot of land, or walk on down to Stevens Coolidge. It's only a half mile down or less to the Stevens Coolidge, and I love Jean's idea of the pathway signs, because we have so many wonderful historic areas in town that I really would like people to understand that this is just one in a flow throughout the town. And if I hadn't said it yet, Colonel James Fry and his family played a really important role in the Revolutionary War. He himself led the Essex Regiment up Bunker Hill, and that's where he received his fatal wound. His son, who was 15 at that time, also was a soldier at Bunker Hill and became one of the first soldiers to be in the Engineer Corps. They actually developed the Engineer Corps, and he also fought in the, in the next major war in the United States. His son was also in that war, and then his grandson fought in the Civil War. So there's a great amount of history for that homestead, and that is just a beautiful plot of land that I would like to be able to keep as an open space for the western side of town. Were there other
Does
questions?
anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so the goal is to just leave it as is, essentially. It'd be a
Basically,
open
an
space.
open space. There's no construction that needs to be done. It's not a sports gathering place, so there would be no parking lot that needed to be created. There are other members of the community who are working to save the Colonel James Fry home itself. I'm not part of that. I'm not an architect or a builder. The Fry home is not occupied. That's right. It was purchased by a developer in 2021, and he wished to make it his own home, and then he found structural issues with the home. So he is working with the Historical Society at this point to find other options for that home. And if you haven't driven by it, it's a fabulous home, and across the street there's a small pillar that says C23, and it is the number of miles to Cambridge. It labels the number of miles that you would take from that spot to Cambridge.
So he owns these parcels as well?
He owns the whole 2.6 acres of land. It's those two parcels, and he owns the house, the large barn, and then there's also a garage attached to that barn.
And even though it's private property, is it a gathering spot now? Like, is there people playing and running and walking?
No, when he purchased the property, it was a private, and in fact, there was a stockade fence around the whole area. On the east side, there remains quite a huge stand of rhododendrons, which are beautiful. But when that stockade fence came down and he removed the pool there, it became open and visible. So I didn't even know there was a pool back there. But I understand that the Hayes family had a number of children who enjoyed using the barn they'd play basketball in the barn. The kids would have parties at the pool. It just sounded like a very wonderful time. And Ms. Hayes was the head of community programs, I believe. Noelle Hayes, she's just passed in the last couple of years. And she also was the recipient of the North Andover Citizen of the Year Award. So quite an amazing family. Prior to that, it was the Peters, and I actually know about the Peters because they owned land that is contingent with our area behind the Dollar Tree, in the area that was called Rail Swamp. That's right behind Stop and Shop and Rail Swamp. So the Peters owned land down there, and they owned it up to the area that is the Starbucks now. That whole area of land.
Comment. I think what would help here is, this is listed as an open space and recreation project.
Yes.
Okay. So oftentimes we have a concept document that says this is what we have in mind. Is it going to be a natural, like wildlife preserve? Is it going to be an area that is connected with real trails that people use? And you talked a lot about historic values, maybe for the house or for the area. I think you need to define better what your end result is.
That's a good question. So I will do that. So this is, as I said, a beautiful, open, flat area. My husband and I were over at Rolling Ridge not long ago, and what we observed there were, kids that barely came up to your knee, and that were running around at Rolling Ridge. They were playing soccer. Okay.
What I meant was maybe create a document based on environmental observations and analysis, for instance, for an open space and recreation part of it. Kind of put it together, create a document that could go with your application that would better define what your concept is.
Well, I think it certainly, there's a number of organizations I had in mind that might be interested in this. Again, I'm not asking to purchase or run this land. This is an attempt actually to prevent this land from becoming two single-family homes. But one idea that I did have, which is a beautiful idea that that Town Hall has put in the center, is a pollinator garden. There is a fabulous pollinator garden right out here in the front of Town Hall, and to have that community group be able to use that area as pollinator gardens. When my husband came in front of this community, in front of this committee in 2022 to ask for help with our tot lot over on Meadowood Road, and we were turned down. At that same time, there were a number of other number of other projects which were very valuable, and I can understand we were turned down. But when I asked the town to come and help us with our playground, to put some playground put some playground equipment in there, I received a response from DPW. Well, would you like to put gardens in there and pull the playground equipment out that's already there? So maybe gardens are a good thing to put in there, but it's open space. It can be open space.
That would help the application.
She would have to partner with somebody, because we don't buy land, right? We don't take care of it, so who would own it?
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into the sort of the economics of it, you know, that this is, and the detail and all the other alternatives, but no, at a minimum, what you would have to do, if hypothetically, if you did buy it, you'd have to put a conservation restriction on it, and you'd have to pay somebody to monitor it.
Right.
So there's a lot of steps, and
Mr. Holland, may I answer
and it would be a
that
good idea
question?
if you were doing something like this to let any of the neighbors in the neighborhood know,
May I answer this
because none
question?
of them know
So,
about this.
so you asked the question, well, we don't take care of it.
Right. This
and
board doesn't.
This board doesn't take care of it, right? And part of my application really is to bring attention to the fact that that historically, 4 families have taken care of this land, I noticed in the historical preservation plan that the CPC funded, that was produced last year. There was a recommendation for the CPC committee to go and find those pieces, those areas, those treasures, those historical treasures in North Andover that are at risk for being lost. And this is a historical treasure that's at risk of being lost. And even if the house were to be destroyed, something should remain as a memorial to Colonel Fry and his family. Now, this, I think, is a very, very important part of our history. It's not a playing field. I've been to Berry Field. My son played there at Gallagher Field. He played baseball. These are all wonderful, wonderful things. But I think I'm standing here for the past generations. I've had people say this is a wonderful, wonderful town, but the people from the past generations don't have a chance to speak up. So I'm trying to speak up for our history, and particularly in the corners of town, over on the far west or down near the river. We're environmental justice communities. There's not going to be somebody from those communities that are coming in to talk about these things. And so I think that as the CPC, which is a community preservation committee, I think we need to take a forward stance and take care of some of these things, whether it's finding those gems and helping them along, and then finding the right spot for them in our community. I mean, I think that sports are great.
We got to move on, so did anybody else have any other questions? I think we're okay. Okay.
Thank you
good.
very much for your time.
I wanted to make a comment. I
Yes.
appreciate your passion, and it's received.
Thank you. I
And,
appreciate it.
we have a lot of things to think about, so thank you for not giving up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Okay, moving right along, the high school projects, I guess I used the word plural, because the list had a bunch of things on them. But Gene, can you kind of distill what is going on there, or Laurie, or? Poor Laurie.
I'm only here because I'm locked out of my office.
Oh, there you go. See, if the fire station were still here, you could have somebody come and do that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this is facilities calling to.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Hello.
The only reason I'm hesitant is I think Laurie has an update to the application, that it might be amended. But essentially, as you know, the ongoing construction is wrapping up. So we've added turf to the baseball field and softball field. The tennis courts have been all recreated. Their lights have been put on the upper field to allow for expanded hours operation. And that project is coming to an end. They've filed kind of a phase 2 application, which would include lights, correct me if I'm wrong, but lights for the baseball and softball fields, as well as the tennis courts, and 2 additional lights at Walsh Stadium. They also have like a patio gathering area, and they have dugouts in their application. So the first project, there was adults added in, so they ran short on the cost of the dugouts, and so they've added that. But, and Laurie's gonna have to speak to this, I think last night there was a meeting, you guys were at the meeting, right?
Yes.
And so they'd like to call that back, is my understanding?
Right. I don't want to, I'm not positive of the amount that
Okay.
they're doing, so she's going to have to say that, I don't know.
Okay. So my understanding, they're gonna call it back quite a bit, and.
So, yeah, we'll have her when she comes back. But I am right that the lights on the baseball and softball field is the top priority on the list, or
Yes.
what's the last?
Yes.
So why don't we just come back when she comes, comes back? Does she have to be here for the Franklin School one too?
Well, not necessarily, well, I know that's also being revised, but again, just before this meeting, the applicant, who's the principal at the Franklin School, sent an email that she wants to revise her application. She didn't say how so I can certainly follow up with her between this meeting and next meeting. But again, my understanding is it's going to be called back to fund only relocation of certain playground equipment from the Kittredge School to the Franklin School, and have a number value for the rest of that equipment to go elsewhere. I don't think it's been determined exactly where the rest of the playground equipment would go, but they want to incorporate that in this application. So it would be simply, there's very specific playground equipment at Kittredge that they'd like to bring to Franklin. Sound right?
Is that consistent with what you guys have heard?
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah.
the fields are up.
But she just emailed, and she's going to revise her application. So.
Okay.
All right, so I explained the whole high school original application.
Yeah, so we were,
So
the high school project, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not my application, and
No,
it's
it's
not the
not.
town manager's application, so I don't really want to talk
But-
towards it, because I
well,
don't really know what
I guess,
Plan is?
how did it come about then?
I don't know. It came about because the school put an application in.
It's from the athletic
It's
department
from the
at high school.
athletic department. It's not part of, like, my high school project or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
But your understanding is it's going to be called back at some point?
I mean, these guys know better than me.
They waited for you to come back, so.
Sorry.
So I got a message.
I was under the impression that it may get
Called
called
back.
back, but again, I can't speak for the schools. So,
What's the big secret, or what's the?
I got a message tonight that it's going to be cut back to $75,000 for the dugouts only. That's the
But,
only.
like, I guess, put this in the context of a plan, because I thought you did a really great job explaining before, like, the master plan and how you did it. I thought the lights were like the top
Right.
priority. I thought these lights were the top priority. If the high school wanted anything at this point, they wanted the lights.
Right.
So can we, at the next meeting, make sure that we've got somebody here that, who's sponsoring this application that can answer these questions?
I guess you have to see what the application comes back in at.
What's that?
You have to see what the application comes back in at, because it's being scaled back.
Well, but still, it'd be good to have somebody here that could answer our questions.
So I think the answer to the question that John just asked is, that may be the high school's plan was the most important thing to them, but that is not the master plan. So the master plan, which is, we're following with the Dale Street and that's our master plan. So that the lights weren't the priority on the master plan.
Okay.
Am I right? Would that be the way you say it?
We didn't have this as part of our discussions in what we were coming forward with for our fields master plan.
So, would this, did you talk about, like, would this proposal, is that gonna take away from some other project? Or,
Well,
you know?
potentially, to John's point too, that you keep, we have to keep money aside, and we don't know yet what the middle school is gonna cost. When we go to phase two,
Right.
we don't know what we're gonna need, and we don't wanna wipe out, everything, so there's a lot to it,
Right.
I can tell you on that point, for the Recplex Phase 2, we were all in agreement that we want to keep the momentum going once Phase 1 begins. We don't want to stop, and we will be relying heavily on CPC funds to help with that, along with donations. They're going to be doing a big donation campaign, and I believe there may be some town funds also, but we're working through all of those things. But our goal is to keep the momentum going with the Recplex once construction begins.
So do we understand, so we have about 13 million, do we understand like how much we need to hang on to for a Recplex project? Yeah.
The design consultant hasn't prepared, broken down an estimate for phase 2 and 3 yet. Phase 1 obviously is going out to construction. So we don't know yet how much we're gonna need, but it's a significant, what we're building right now in phase 1 is a small part of that complex. Phase 2 really is where, you get your large diamond, you get your large multipurpose field. And there's a lot of money that's gonna be needed for phase 2.
Yeah.
So it's uncertain right now, it depends on a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Like Laurie mentioned, that, the sports groups, we're gonna be responsible for privately raising money
Yeah.
to contribute towards that.
Well, I just think it's, if you're scaling it back, it's just kind of it's just kind of a shame if Steve kind of put together this presentation and, now we can't move forward.
I don't think anyone's opposed to it, Adam.
Yeah.
But it's just in order, like Laurie and Terry just spoke of, is just the priorities and the way they were laid out in terms of the Fields master plan, and we're trying to stick to that plan.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I
Laurie had alluded to it last night about how the playground program and other programs where we've set up a program and we've followed that, and it's worked very well for the town. So I think that's where some of the issues comes in.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a hard decision. Everybody struggled with, what is the most important thing, and we all feel the middle school, especially once we break ground and start digging up there, it was to continue it and move forward with that, so.
That's kind of why I asked kind of earlier, is the delay of the Recplex delaying other stuff? Because like that, it just kind of stinks that the unknown of, we don't know how much money we need to hang on to, and does that?
Crowds other stuff out.
Yeah,
If you look
that's
at
what I mean.
what we thought we were gonna spend for it 7 years ago and what it's gonna cost now, it's a lot more.
Right.
So that means we don't have that money available for other stuff. It's
Right.
unfortunate, but that's life.
Yeah.
But we are still moving forward with the master plan. We
Yeah.
didn't stop that,
No.
right? Right.
I mean, that's why Gallagher's on.
Yeah.
We are moving forward, and like I said, when I talked about Gallagher, the plan is, the Fields Committee will discuss what the best avenue is to move forward once the Recplex is done, like what is our plan, and we hope to stick to that.
Gallagher Field was selected by the Fields Committee because it was, in reality, a small amount of money to get that field operable. And when the Recplex starts, we're gonna lose a good chunk of area in the middle school, and we have a shortage of fields right now, just in terms of juggling, so.
Yeah.
Gallagher coming online falls in place with the Fields master plan and allows us to get more fields in a short period of time.
Yeah, I guess the problem I have looking at this is it's hard for me to gauge what the recreational value to the town is to to spend $200,000 on a dugout, on dugouts, $240,000 on a community plaza. And, you know, who's going to answer that question to tell us, yeah, to say, yes, this is a high priority because, you know, or what the value of that is. And that's what I'm having a hard time with this without anybody here to actually represent
I think
the proposal.
The dugouts, I think, were part of, you know, the construction that's ongoing now and was an alternate, and there wasn't enough money to.
But no,
Fund
still,
it.
I mean, we're talking about, could that money be better, have more recreational value if it was spent on something else?
Yeah, I'm not saying, Ron, that
Well,
this,
you
this.
need
could be
dugouts. I mean, I've never seen a field, a varsity field, didn't have a dugout, right?
Right.
You should have a dugout for safety reasons and
No,
everything else.
no, but is that a town recreational benefit or a high, because at some
Both.
point, it seems like we are augmenting the school budget.
No, it's both. So the youth use those fields quite a bit. Steve has been amazing about how much he opened that up to, the best AD we've had. He's, as far as opening up the fields to the youth groups, and we use them a tremendous amount of time. And we plan on using both the softball field, baseball field. In the middle is going to be an all-purpose field, which wouldn't use the dugouts, but it would be soccer and that type of thing. So the youth get a lot of use out of those fields.
I know I did ask Steve that, Ron, last time he was here. Like, is that field going to be accessible to the town when the high school's not using it? And it was kind of an overwhelming yes.
Yeah, to me, it's not so much accessibility as the value. And
Value,
is
yeah.
that money, is there other things that the money should go for? And I'm not, and I'm just saying, the problem I'm having is nobody here to answer those type of questions.
Yeah.
Well, I think, let's have Steve in and see, I think he can add some context to it. I mean, because I think it's interesting. I think the discussion said, what we want to do to drive this is the overall facilities master plan for recreation, which I think makes sense, and then you overlay with that. I mean, to some degree, this thing is a wish list for the schools, and maybe we just have to juggle it in. But let's hear what he has to say, and you guys will know probably in advance what he's going to say, so we'll be able to have a good discussion.
Well, I'm sure he, when you bring a presentation, you kind of ask for the moon and hope you land in front of the stars, probably, right? So, I'm sure that may or may not have been his thought process. But yeah, I will say one thing that I struggle with is, and it might just be my ignorance, but like, I wouldn't want any project to kind of get in the way of what is strategically next, whether that's a public field, recplex, whatever, or I wouldn't want us not to have the funds to have the flexibility to buy a piece of land that we wanted or something like that. But like having like $13 million in the bank is, I don't know. To me, it seems like a lot of money. It just stinks that we have so much. I wish it was.
Well, yeah, I know.
At use.
But I mean, it is a lot of money. But between the recplex and a couple of potential land purchases, you could easily use it all.
Use
up.
it, of course you could. Yeah. So it's
So good. So why don't we have Steve in for our next session and give him some context in the conversation. You guys have probably talked to him before that, so we can answer all the questions that we asked here. So, Laurie was out when we talked about Franklin. Is there anything more we need to add beyond what we already talked about, or?
I think we just need to receive her revised application.
Okay.
And I just will note, it was emailed very late today as well, but public comment came in from Brad Wakeman today related to that application. Again, given that it's going to be revised, those comments may or may not be applicable.
Okay.
So,
Do you think that's eligible? Moving equipment from one place to another? Is that typically CPC eligible one?
that's not one of the ones that was documented on town council, but I will get town
Problem
council.
is, we bought it originally.
Right. Okay.
You funded the, okay.
Okay.
So then most likely yes, but town council has to weigh in.
Cool.
So that's a good segue into the Murkowski Meadows project, which doesn't look like it's going to pass muster. So if you could explain what town council said, that'd be great.
Sure. essentially, Laurie brought it to my attention, but in 2013, at the time it was DHCD, had provided guidance on CPC funds being used for regular maintenance and regular repair functions, and they deemed that they are not allowed to be used for that. So if it was structurals, a roof that's going to save the building from falling down, a roof can be funded. The foundation, if it's cracking and crumbling, a foundation can be funded. But kitchen and bath upgrades specifically are called out that they are not fundable. And I provided that opinion from 13 to town council today. Laurie also forwarded an email that she reached out to Stewart in 2020, I want to say the email was, and his response is, that's absolutely still valid guidance. It's part of my training. I have no reason to believe it's not still part of the guidance, and town council provided a legal opinion that says it's still valid, that those types of maintenance, repairs, and rehabilitation is not considered eligible for CPC funds.
It pains me to say it as a housing authority commissioner, but looking at the allowable uses, you know, it's clearly in the rehabilitate or restore category, which is a no. So, which probably makes me think, you know, things we've funded in the past may not have been eligible that we funded.
I wonder if we're gonna get arrested.
Yeah, you know, so,
You
And is
first,
it-
Terry.
you know,
I did stop by McKeskey Meadows and spoke with the director, Maggie, today, just to give her a heads up on this memo.
Okay.
She did point to the CPA plan and pointed to the matrix that it shows that you can preserve functions, preserve structures, but then they also define what preserving is, and it has to be like a substantial thing, like I talked about roofs and things like that, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because the very first project for affordable housing that we did under CPC was the roof of the N. O'Connor project because it was falling apart.
that
And
would have been eligible though, right? 'Cause
That is
that's
eligible.
preserved.
Yeah, that
That's
was
preserved.
eligible, so that wasn't
There's a
eligible.
open one that I
Yeah.
believe the roof was for Folds Terrace, and they, last quarterly report said they finished the roof, but they're still working on other aspects that probably, in hindsight,
Might not have been past muster, so, yeah,
Oh, well,
good.
there's a warrant, there'll be a warrant out for you, John.
Yeah, I think so, maybe.
You were, Jim.
Yeah, I was, yeah. Oh dear, so, good. So any, I think the only takeaway that I've got here is that we're going to bring Steve Nugent in, right? There's going to be an updated application for Franklin School. The Gallagher Field improvements will bump it up to 575. And the Affordable Housing Trust is 200K, not 300. That's basically it, right? Yeah. So,
And you're gonna strike McKeskey Meadows on this.
yeah, so, good, okay. Great, so why don't we go to the financial reports? I don't think there was too much in them but we'll just take a quick look and see if anybody has any questions.
So they haven't closed out the accounts you approved at the last meeting. And the one thing, again, through all this conversation about what was fundable, I didn't realize that the 100,000 for the repair program needed to be closed out. And so that is
So-
still showing as open. And that will be on the next closeout memo. Sorry, give me 1 second here.
John, have we strategically in the past, so we have like 12.9 million, have we strategically in the past thought about like how much to keep in there? Like in terms, I know we want to keep funds, whether it's for future projects or future land. Like have we ever strategically thought, oh, we got to make sure we have minimum this amount, or have you ever gotten down to zero? I'm just
Oh,
curious. if you
no,
ever had
we've
a
never
strategy.
close to that. I used to have, keep a schedule that had every year how much. And what happened was, you saw this a little bit more in the initial years of CPC in North Andover, when we did a lot of large land projects. The balance went low a couple times for that very reason. It went up, and then we bought a property and went down. We generally, in the past, have the properties we've bought, we've either bought directly with cash that we had, or we went out just 3 years. We never went any longer than 3 years. You're allowed to bond it over an extended period, but we've never done that. The longest we ever purchased a property was for 3 years, which is actually a better, much lower interest rates and so forth, so. But, yeah, you want to keep a lot of money, but, you know, the problem is now the stakes are much bigger because everything's more expensive, so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anything, Gene, which ones are we going to close out the next time?
For the next quarter?
Well, for this, you're going to come back with a note on?
At the last meeting, you closed out 9 or 10 accounts
Oh, okay.
that I've submitted to the accounting offices, but they're not reflected in this balance because it was only a week after the month ended.
Yeah.
And so at the next closeout, the last account here is the repair program that wasn't eligible and should have been closed out. So
Yeah, and
that
so-
needs to be closed out.
Okay.
I'm told that Ridgewood has a couple, no, the Historical Society has a couple that they're going to recommend to close out. So at the end of each quarter, I foresee just doing that type of memo
Yeah.
to wipe
okay.
these out if they're done.
Okay. One thing, just, well, it's tangential, but Jennifer, I know this is one that you're interested in, the project, you know, near, on the entrance to, Wire Hill. Yeah, the, National Grid was at the planning board meeting, on Tuesday night, and, about something else. So I asked them politely to see if they could have somebody talk to us so we could get the thing going on that project again. So, because they've been ignoring us, right?
Because as I understand it, at National Grid, it's an easement for the town to park in that space that's right there? Is that the case?
Well, it's the project with the tunnel.
Right.
It's
Right,
totally
it
on,
goes
that's
up
what
to
we're
them,
talking
yeah.
about there.
We lease the parking lot, though. We don't know if
Right.
we lease it from
We
them.
lease it, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they supposed to plow it? It's not plowed, sorry.
I don't
No, I'm just curious, that's all.
Yeah.
If we lease it, I guess.
We don't have any conditions on them.
Understood. Okay.
I mean,
part of
there's,
that lease.
one of the things I think,
really
you
related.
know, looking at the projects are like, which ones should we close out, but which ones are there fair chunks of money and there's no, not, I shouldn't say progress being made, but they're not moving forward. Now, they do quarterly reports, but we ought to address some of them, like, you know, for example, the church. When are they gonna start?
There's a quarterly report that says so for the church, but
Yeah,
I'm more concerned about how long are we going to carry Uslar and Rolling Ridge, and like, nobody's writing quarterly reports on those projects.
The church hasn't done any work yet?
I-
Taken on it all?
There's a quarterly report from last
Yeah.
month. I don't have it
Okay, I'll have to
memorized,
check.
but
Okay.
it's,
I mean, but those two, we probably should close out, because you're not doing anything, Jack, right? You're not like parking, you're okay with that?
Yeah,
Well,
it's working. We're
Yeah.
pretty well done
Yeah,
with
so
that.
we'll probably just close them out, yeah.
which one are you referring to?
Goosler.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a handful of those I found in the files, past correspondence where it was discussed, what do you guys want to do? And they're just at a standstill, so I'll put together another memo and if you guys want to close some of these out. I just think it's a lot easier to manage if they're done and they have a little bit of money left to turn it back to you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else on the financials?
Thank you very much for the spreadsheets.
Oh, yeah, you got an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it was great.
All you need to do is ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they protected? I didn't check. I told them to protect them.
They were, but you can download them
You can
and
download
then you
them.
can go
Yeah.
do whatever you need to do in
Meant to
terms of
check
looking
that.
at them. It was much easier.
Yeah, it's much easier to do it in Excel than a PDF. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay. Okay, calendar, remind me again when we meet again, I've totally forgotten.
The
Oh,
19th.
Thank you, Rick. So it's the 19th we meet.
That's school vacation, just so you know.
Is it? Is it
Yes.
not school vacation?
So I'm gonna be away,
For the kids?
grandkids. grandkids.
Yeah. So you going to Disney World or something?
No, I'm just gonna go sit on the beach.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad.
Can I send Papa with you?
I just didn't know if there was gonna be trouble getting a meeting if anybody else was in that situation.
You want to move it to the 26th? The planning board doesn't meet that week because of school vacation, so that would have been, the 17th would have been a normal planning board, but you're meeting on the 24th
Oh,
instead.
you are, okay.
So if you want to move it from the 19th to the,
You've joined
26th.
vacation before, Terry. I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So do you want to move it to the 26th?
it's a,
That would be the logical thing. I mean, because I think it would be good to have another session before we vote, just to thrash out, any major issues, if any exist, and then we can go from there. So
thank you.
we'll switch the next meeting to the 26th.
I have to confirm the room, but I'll send a confirmation email to everybody when
Yeah,
I do it.
okay. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the last minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes in our last meeting drafted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else before we break? Good.
Thank you.
Alrighty, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
This is so much easier.